I always thought kindness was a strength, until it left me with nothing. The day my life crumbled wasn't loud or cinematic. There were no screams, no dramatic exits, no thunder cracking overhead. It was quiet, almost peaceful, which made the pain sharper, more cruel. I stood at the edge of the front porch, barefoot, wearing a faded oversized hoodie and pajama pants. The mailman had just left a foreclosure notice wedged in the crack of my front door. My eyes scanned the bold letters, final warning. Not that it mattered anymore. There was nothing left to fight for. Or so I thought. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 33, born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. The South taught me to be gentle, humble, polite. Always give more than you take. That's what I did. I gave. I gave my time, my love, my loyalty. And when I had nothing else to give, I gave even the pieces of my soul I didn't know I was allowed to keep. I gave them to the wrong person. His name doesn't matter anymore. He was the kind that walks into your life wearing a smile so warm you forget winter exists. He made me laugh when I was grieving, held me close when I felt the world pushing me away. He made me believe that someone finally saw me, not just the nice girl, the quiet one, the reliable helper, but me, Emily. And once I was his, he started taking. At first, it was subtle. My savings account went missing $200 here, $500 there. He always had a story. His truck broke down, his mom needed medicine, rent was late. Then came the joint business venture. My name on the paperwork. My credit. My dreams. His lies. When I confronted him, he smiled. Smiled. Like it was all a game I just lost. I mean, he laughed. You should have seen this coming. You're too nice for your own good. Those words still echo inside me like a broken lullaby. I can't remember what I said. Maybe I didn't say anything. But I remember standing there, watching him walk out of the house, my house, like he owned it. Like he owned me. He didn't just take my money. He took my dignity, my peace, my belief in people. And the worst part? No one believed me. My friends thought I was overreacting. My parents said, "You're always too emotional, Emily. Maybe you misunderstood." And the bank. They didn't care about heartbreaks. Only numbers. Only zeros. I was alone. Utterly, painfully alone. I slept in that cold, empty house for 2 weeks after he left. No heat. Barely any food. Just shame and echoes. I didn't open the curtains. I didn't check my phone. The world became a blur. I kept hearing his voice in my head like poison on repeat. You're too soft to survive in the real world. And maybe he was right. Maybe I was weak. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. There's no lower to go. All you can do is either die inside or dig your fingers into the dirt and climb back up. And somewhere between the tears and the silence, a part of me that I'd buried long ago began to whisper, "Get up." I didn't recognize that voice at first. It wasn't soft. It wasn't sweet. It didn't say, "Everything will be okay." It said, "Fight. Now." So I got up. I showered. I cleaned the kitchen. I opened all the curtains. I looked in the mirror and saw someone I hadn't met before. She had fire in her eyes and shaking hands, but she was awake. That was the beginning. People like to say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's not always true. Sometimes, what doesn't kill you leaves you paralyzed, scared, doubting, cold. But sometimes, if you let it, it rebuilds you into something no one saw coming. The world had taken everything from me because I was too nice, too trusting, too weak. But what they forgot was this. A woman who's lost everything is a woman with nothing left to fear. And fear is what kept me small. Not anymore. I started documenting everything. Every lie. Every receipt. Every forged signature. I made phone calls. I studied contracts. I watched videos on business fraud and credit recovery. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I had to start somewhere. And slowly, something started to shift. I stopped crying. I started planning. And what happened next? It shocked everyone. Because the same girl they laughed at, the doormat, the pushover, the emotional wreck, was about to become their biggest nightmare. They say your childhood shapes who you become. The habits you learn, the fears you inherit, the silence you carry. I grew up in a modest home in Savannah, Georgia. It wasn't grand, but it was filled with warm smells and carefully folded laundry. My mother, Sandra Carter, was a schoolteacher who believed in quiet strength. My father, Douglas Carter, was a soft-spoken mechanic who worked long hours but always made time to ask about my day. I was an only child, not by design but because my mother had complications after I was born. I was her miracle, her world. And she filled me with goodness. Always help others when you can, Emily. Be the soft place people land. And so I became that place. I was the peacemaker in the family. If my parents argued, I made tea and sat between them until their voices softened. If a classmate cried, I gave away my lunch and sat with them at recess. I listened. I forgave. I let things slide, even when they hurt. In high school, I was the girl everyone liked but no one really saw. I wasn't the popular cheerleader. I wasn't the rebellious artist. I was the dependable friend, the note passer, the secret keeper. And when people broke my trust, I smiled and said, "It's okay." Because that's what kind girls do. That habit followed me into adulthood like a ghost I couldn't shake. I went to a small art college in Charleston. I loved painting. I saw the world in colors and light. But practicality won, and I took a job as a receptionist for a real estate company. I told myself I'd paint on weekends. I never did. The job paid okay. I was good at it. Organized. Reliable. Always the one they called when someone quit or didn't show up. And then, one autumn afternoon, Derek Weston walked into the office. Tall, charming, with a grin that looked like it had never known hardship. He was a new agent, transferring from Atlanta. He asked for help setting up his email. I remember how he stood too close, not in a creepy way, just enough to make my heart beat faster. He asked me to lunch the following week. Said he liked how calm I seemed. Like a safe harbor, he told me. A part of me melted at those words. Finally, someone who saw me, not just what I did for others but who I was. I should have seen the signs. Derek always talked about himself. His successes. His dreams. His frustrations. I listened, eager, flattered that someone so confident wanted to share his life with me. When we moved in together after 8 months, my parents hesitated. "Isn't it a little fast?" Mom had asked gently. "He makes me feel important," I said. And I meant it. At first, things were sweet. He brought flowers, made me laugh, took me on spontaneous drives. We danced in the kitchen to 90s songs and kissed under moonlight like teenagers. But then things started to change. He lost a deal and snapped at me over breakfast. Said I was distracting. A few days later, he apologized with wine and promises. "It's just stress, babe. You calm me down. Don't leave me." I stayed. Then came the gaslighting. He'd forget to tell me about big purchases. He'd disappear for hours with no explanation. When I questioned him, he'd chuckle. "You're always so paranoid, Emily. That's not attractive." Bit by bit, my reality bent to his version of it. And while Derek was taking my confidence, someone else was sowing doubts behind my back. Judy Weston, his mother. Judy was the kind of woman who hugged you with cold hands and judged you with warm words. She'd show up unannounced, rearrange the kitchen, and say things like, "You young girls don't know how to keep a man these days." She never thought I was good enough for Derek. "Too quiet," she once whispered to a family friend at Thanksgiving. "She's a bit of a bore, bless her heart." But Derek defended her. Always. "That's just Mom. She doesn't mean it. Let it go." So I let it go. Again. Meanwhile, my own social circle began to shrink. My friends, Melissa, Janet, Kim, they said I was changing. "You're always tired, Em. You cancel plans last minute. You okay?" I wanted to tell them. I wanted to scream. "I'm drowning." But I didn't know how to explain what was happening. Derek hadn't hit me. He didn't scream or threaten. But he made me question every feeling I had. Was I overreacting? Was I too sensitive? Was I, in fact, weak? And that word, Weak. It haunted me, because I had worked so hard my whole life to be strong in the ways I thought mattered. Loyal, forgiving, kind. But now, kindness felt like a chain around my neck. Then came the final blow, the business opportunity. Derek had this plan. We'd open a home staging company. I'd do the interior design work. He'd handle the sales. He convinced me to take out a small loan. It's in your name only because of tax purposes, he said. I signed. He disappeared 3 weeks later. With the money. With my designs. With someone else. I got an email from the woman's Facebook account. A selfie of them in Costa Rica. Caption. Found my forever. She's everything my last wasn't. The humiliation was suffocating. People I thought were my friends liked the post. My parents didn't know what to say. My job quietly replaced me after I took too many sick days. I lost the house when the loan defaulted. And through it all, I kept thinking, was it my fault? Did I invite this? Was I simply too naive? Too kind? Too weak? It wasn't until the night I stared into the bathroom mirror, brushing my teeth with trembling hands, that something shifted. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. My skin was dull, my eyes empty, but somewhere deep in that reflection was a woman who had taken hit after hit and still stood. Still breathing. Still alive. And for the first time, I whispered something I hadn't dared to believe. You didn't deserve this. That moment was the start of everything. Because once you realize the abuse wasn't your fault, you stop making space for it. Rock bottom is silent. No flashing lights. No audience clapping for your survival. It's just you alone, fighting voices inside your head that sound a lot like the people who broke you. After Derek left, the days bled into each other. I woke up, ate cereal I could barely afford, and stared out of windows I hadn't cleaned in weeks. But something inside me, that raw, small ember of fire, refused to die. I started writing things down. Every bank transaction. Every lie Derek told. Every memory that didn't sit right. I went back through old emails and contracts. And that's when I noticed something. The business registration had my name only. The property lease? My name. Even the inventory Derek used to stage a model home, furniture I picked, paid for, arranged, was signed off using my signature, forged. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was fraud. But how could I fight him? I was broke. My credit was trashed. My reputation ruined. When I called the bank, they offered no help. You co-signed, ma'am, the representative said. There's no recourse. But he tricked me. Unfortunately, that's a civil matter. I felt like I was shouting into a void. Until I met Angela Rivera, an old friend from high school. Angela was a paralegal working at a small law firm in town. I bumped into her at a grocery store, pushing a cart of discounted soup and frozen waffles. She barely recognized me. I nodded. Her eyes softened. What happened? I told her. Not everything, but enough. She gave me her card and whispered, "Let me help." Angela introduced me to Mr. Clay Hopkins, an older attorney with kind eyes and a voice that didn't talk at me, but to me. We'll start with fraud and identity misuse, he said, scanning my papers. If your story checks out, we might be able to recover assets. Possibly press charges. Charges. The word made me tremble and breathe at the same time. Finally, someone believed me. But the journey wasn't simple. Clay warned me. Derek is manipulative. People like him don't panic when you catch them, they prepare. And he was right. When Derek was served with a notice, he posted a long, performative rant on Facebook. Some people can't handle success. They'll drag your name just to feel powerful. I won't stoop to their level, but lies always collapse eventually. He didn't mention me by name, but everyone knew. And suddenly, I was the villain. Mutual friends started blocking me. I got anonymous messages calling me vindictive, crazy, jealous. Judy, his ever-gracious mother, posted a cryptic photo of a broken-winged dove with the caption, "Some women destroy what they can't control." I wanted to disappear, but I didn't. Because I had already disappeared once, when I let Derek erase my confidence, my worth, my power. Not again. So I pushed forward. I worked part-time at a bookstore to survive, taking late-night shifts and using my breaks to email evidence to Clay. Angela became my rock, bringing me coffee, reminding me to breathe, and telling me, "You're not weak, Emily. You're brave." Still, Derek wasn't done. One day, I came home to find a letter taped to my door. No stamp, just my name, written in that unmistakable handwriting. Inside was a single page. "You can play this game if you want. Just know I know things about you, too. Do you think you're innocent? You were never that special. But keep pushing, and I promise, I'll make sure you regret it." No signature, just a fingerprint smudge. It should have scared me, and for a moment it did. My hands shook, my chest tightened. But then, I smiled, because for the first time, Derek was nervous. That meant I was getting close. Clay filed a petition to freeze any assets tied to our now-defunct company. He uncovered emails Derek had sent using my account, applying for loans under false pretenses. Some of the lenders denied him. Others approved. One of them even had a voicemail of him pretending to be me. That was the turning point. We had proof. But justice takes time. And time is cruel when you're broke, isolated, and being called a liar by people who once cheered your smile. During the months that followed, I had to show up in court twice. Derek smirked through both hearings. His new girlfriend, the one from the Costa Rica photo, sat in the gallery, arms crossed, lips pursed. Derek's lawyer painted me as emotionally unstable, said I was obsessed with Derek, that I fabricated abuse because I couldn't handle rejection. My knees buckled hearing those words. But I stood. I stood because I had to, because truth needs someone brave enough to speak it, even when no one claps, even when they laugh. Outside the courtroom after the second hearing, Derek cornered me. "You don't know what you've started," he hissed. I stared him dead in the eyes. "I know exactly what I've started, and you should be afraid." And for a flicker of a second I saw it, fear. The man who once owned every corner of my life flinched. In the weeks that followed, our case picked up momentum. The judge granted discovery of Derek's accounts. What we found stunned even Clay. Over $40,000 siphoned through shell transfers. Fake invoices. Emails to other women, some asking for money. And most damning of all, a wire he attempted under my mother's name. When my mother heard, she cried. Not just from shock, but from guilt. "I should have believed you sooner, baby." That night, I sat at her kitchen table, holding her hand, and finally let the tears fall. Not from defeat, but from release. The worst was behind me. But Derek? His storm was just beginning. He tried to flee to another state. His accounts were frozen. The girlfriend left him. His name started showing up on local blogs. A podcast even covered the case, calling it The Charm and the Con. And just when it felt like we were reaching justice, one final twist arrived. An anonymous woman contacted me. Her name was Maya, a freelance artist from North Carolina. She found me through the podcast and sent me a DM. "I think we've both been played by the same man. Can we talk?" We did. For 3 hours. And by the end, I knew. Derek wasn't just a manipulator. He was a serial predator. He'd done the same to at least 4 women over the last 6 years. Different names. Same pattern. She gave me their names. And we formed a group. We shared our stories. Collected evidence. Built a timeline. And what we discovered was chilling. Derek had a system. Charm, love bomb, merge finances, siphon money, ghost. But now? He had a system working against him. We submitted everything to Clay. He brought it to the DA. And on a rainy Friday morning, I got the call. Derek Weston has been arrested on multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to defraud. I sank to the floor and laughed, the kind of laugh that comes from every cell in your body exhaling at once. But it wasn't over yet. The media picked up the story. People who once doubted me sent apologies. Judy deleted her account. And me? I stood in front of my old apartment complex where it all began, wearing the same hoodie I had worn the day I lost everything. Only this time, I stood taller. Because I wasn't weak. I had never been weak. I had just been kind in a world that confuses kindness with surrender. And now they knew. There's a moment just before victory where you still feel like you're losing. Even though Derek had been arrested, even though I was no longer crying myself to sleep or rationing gas money, a part of me still felt stuck in that cold apartment, holding an eviction notice with shaking hands. It's hard to believe in freedom when you've lived so long in survival. But healing isn't a single event, it's a series of tiny decisions. Choosing to open the blinds, to shower, to eat something green, to return the call, to smile at yourself in the mirror, even if you're still unsure of the person staring back. The court date for Derek's official arraignment was set. It wasn't just my testimony anymore, it was Maya's, Amanda's, Jody's, and even a woman from Arizona named Claire. Different women. Same man. Same betrayal. Each of us had been isolated in our shame. Now we were united in our truth. Angela sat beside me in the courtroom, gripping my hand. She didn't speak, she didn't need to. Her presence was louder than any words. Derek walked in, looking thinner, paler. He scanned the room with fake calm, but his eyes twitched the moment they landed on us, a row of women who had once believed in his love, now bearing witness to his downfall. The prosecution read out the charges: fraud, identity theft, falsifying documents, wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud. Over 10 separate counts, each carrying serious penalties. When the judge asked how he pleaded, Derek said, "Not guilty, Your Honor." I didn't flinch, because I had already learned some people don't confess with words. They confess with patterns, with how they look away when faced with truth, with how they spin stories even when cornered. I took the stand the next day. As I walked up, my heart pounded like thunder in my ears. I glanced at Angela. She nodded once. Then I spoke. I told the court about the beginning, about the charm, the partnership, the whispered dreams under stars. Then I told them about the lies, the money, the night I found him packing a suitcase while claiming love. I told them how it felt to doubt your own reality, to be gaslit into silence, to lose everything, and then blame yourself for the storm someone else brought into your home. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I spoke with the steady tone of a woman who'd already bled out and survived. When I stepped down, there was silence in the room. Even the judge looked softer. But justice is never smooth. Derek's lawyer tried everything, discrediting me, suggesting I had consented to shared finances, that I was emotionally unstable and vengeful. At one point, he asked me if I'd ever been diagnosed with anxiety. I leaned into the microphone and said, "Yes." After Derek drained my account, I had panic attacks. After he threatened me, I had nightmares. After he left, I stopped trusting anyone. But I'm healing now, and my mental health does not invalidate my truth. The judge didn't stop the courtroom from applauding. The turning point came when Maya played a voicemail Derek left her, one he thought had been deleted. His voice, smooth and sharp. They never see it coming. You just have to make them feel seen first. That's the trick. They give you everything: access, power, forgiveness. That was it. He had convicted himself. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. When they returned, the room felt like it was holding its breath. On all counts, we find the defendant guilty. I closed my eyes. Not because I didn't want to see, but because I wanted to feel that moment completely. Derek's face didn't change. Not visibly. But the way his shoulders dropped, the way his fingers trembled, that was the moment he realized the game was over. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison, with mandatory restitution to each victim. It wasn't everything, but it was enough. He wouldn't hurt anyone else for a while. And me? I was finally free. I moved cities a month later. Not to escape, but to rebuild. A fresh start in Asheville, North Carolina, not far from where Maya lived. We got coffee sometimes. Talked about art and boundaries and how trauma doesn't define you unless you let it. I opened a small design studio. M & Company, a name that made my younger self smile. Angela visited on opening day. She brought flowers and a letter. "You didn't just survive, Emily. You resurrected. Remember that." I framed it on my wall. Life didn't magically become perfect. I still had bad days. Nights when I'd flinch from old memories. But I no longer felt powerless. I owned my life again. Then one day, months after the trial, I got a letter. No name. Just a prison return address. It was from Derek. Inside was a single page. I don't expect you to read this. Or forgive me. I just wanted you to know. I remember the night we danced under the porch light. You were humming. And I remember thinking, this woman shines too bright to be real. I dimmed you on purpose. And I'm sorry. I didn't cry. I didn't burn it either. I just folded it, placed it in an envelope, and sealed it away. Closure doesn't always come with justice. Sometimes it comes with clarity, with knowing that you can move forward without needing permission from the one who broke you. Months passed. One evening, I was locking up the shop when a woman knocked on the glass. She was nervous, clutching a worn notebook.
"Hi," she said.
I heard about what you went through. I think something similar might be happening to me. I let her in. Because survivors help survivors. Because what Derek took from me wasn't just money or time. It was self-trust. But what happened next? It rebuilt everyone who watched me rise. What Derek stole, I earned back tenfold. What he ruined, I restored. And the woman who once whispered, "I'm weak," into her pillow, she now says, boldly, confidently, "I'm still standing. And I'm not going anywhere." You don't know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. I used to believe that brokenness meant finality, that once something cracked, it could never hold again. But I was wrong. Scars do not mean weakness. They mean survival. Each time I questioned myself, doubted my worth, or believed Derek's manipulation, I was operating from fear, not truth. And yet, the truth always finds its way. Sometimes through therapy, sometimes through strangers who become angels, sometimes through the quiet decision to just get out of bed and try again. I didn't get justice, so I could feel powerful. I got justice so I could finally feel peaceful. It wasn't revenge that saved me. It was reclaiming myself. To the woman who's reading this, maybe with a lump in her throat and a question in her heart, what if I'm next? What if I'm already inside a story I don't understand yet? Let me tell you, if something feels wrong, it probably is. If someone makes you doubt your own reality, stop giving them the pen to write your story. You are allowed to walk away before it burns you to ash. You are allowed to demand better. You are allowed to heal. And if you've already lost everything, then you're in the perfect place to rebuild without permission. I wish someone had told me earlier that survival is not shameful. That starting over doesn't mean failure. That asking for help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. But maybe I learned it, so I could tell you. You are not weak because you loved someone who turned out to be a lie. You are not stupid because you trusted someone who deceived you. You are not too late, too broken, too anything. You are exactly where you need to be to begin again. I used to wonder if I'd ever laugh without a trace of bitterness again. Now I do, loudly, freely, with my whole soul. I used to tiptoe through life, hoping to avoid more pain. Now I walk like I own the sidewalk. Because here's what no one tells you. When someone tries to destroy you and fails, they teach you how unstoppable you truly are. So I ask you this, the way I once asked myself. What will you do with your second chance? Will you shrink because someone tried to steal your light? Or will you shine even brighter, just despite the darkness? Because there is power in choosing to heal. Power in rebuilding your life brick by brick, memory by memory, dream by dream. And there is immense beauty in becoming your own hero. To every woman who has been dismissed, gaslit, underestimated, or walked over, rise anyway. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you finally gave it to yourself. And if ever you forget who you are, close your eyes and listen. You'll hear the echo of 1,000 women who survived before you whispering, "Get up. You're not done yet." This is not just Emily's story. This is our story. One of betrayal, yes. But more importantly, of rebirth. One of pain, certainly. But more gloriously, of power. So when the world underestimates you, smile. When they think you're weak, let them. And when you rise, as you surely will, let it shock them all. Because the weak didn't take everything from me. They only took what I wasn't meant to carry forward. What I gained in return was myself.